the weekend just begins, and then we have All Out. And when I say all out, I mean all out, because there's 14 matches on the card as we, are recording this. So Ralph, again, as Matthew Piles asked us, a member of the SCPB membership, click join underneath this video or the link in the description for cool perks that are, I think they're pretty cool, including ad-free episodes, priority in answering questions, seeing us record live, and many other things. But he asked, most predictable and biggest upset on this pay-per-view. So keep that in the back of your mind as we go through these. Now, we're not going to do the 0-hour matches. I think we both agree. Eddie Kingston beats Ishii. Pac retains against Kip Sabian. And Hook beats Angelo Parker for the FTW Championship. So let's head on to the main card. We'll start with the 6-man tag matches. And let's just get the bad one out of the way here, Ralph. And I don't mean bad. It's still going to probably be a good match, but bad because Wardlow and FTR deserve better. They really do. And even Jay Lethal, to a point, deserves better too. But they're in this 6-man tag. It's Wardlow and FTR against Jay Lethal and the Motor City Machine Guns, who we've never seen on an episode of Dynamite. But here they are on All Out, promoted, announced last week. And people are excited because, yes, FTR versus Motor City Machine Guns, that's a dream match, but that's it. That's it.
A dream match for some. For some people, I would argue that they don't care. And I would say that for a couple of matches on this pay-per-view, but for this one specifically, oh man, I can go on and on about all the reasons why I hate this match and why Wardlow specifically deserves better in a singles match, and has deserved better ever since the last pay-per-view when he beat Max. And I could go on and on about FTR. And I'm not trying to say anything negative about the Motor City Machine Guns or even Jay Lethal, because I've been on here saying, Jay Lethal, they brought him back as this guy that, another one of those big announcements. And it was kind of like, well, he wasn't on TV for a couple weeks, then he's back, then he's on Rampage, then he's not on So I'm not trying to knock those guys. What I'm trying to say is Wardlow and FTR were one of the most over tag teams and singles guys in AEW, and we've hardly seen anything. This match is kind of thrown together. I don't know. Other than make a prediction, I'll go with FTR and Wardlow. I think they should be doing different things on this pay-per-view.
I have a feeling Wardlow and FTR are going to lose this match.
I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't.
I mean, FTR have been number one ranked tag team for 21 straight weeks. Still no AEW Tag Team Championship, despite winning all these other tag team championships. We just got the report that they're not going to be on the video game anymore. So are the EVPs whispering in Tony's ear, hey, let's bury FTR now. We don't want them here anymore. They could go back to Papa H. They're not treating us good anyway. Let them go. They're the contract tampering talent anyway. Let's put them back at WWE. No, I'm kidding, obviously, but would not be surprised if FTR and Wardlow lose. But I will say they win. I would not be surprised if they lost, though.
I will agree.
The other 6-man tag is the House of Black against Miro, Darby Allin, and Sting. This was announced last night on AEW Dynamite. And this one has had some story progressions and some tie-ins throughout the summer. Darby Allin and Brody King, Miro and Malakai Black, and, Miro kind of tying in his feud with God, with Malakai Black saying he had to bring in the devil to try to take me down, and he still hasn't done it. I think this match is still going to be good nonetheless, because you got 6 great, wrestlers in the ring, but there hasn't really been much in-ring focus. A lot of it's been backstage promos by Miro, which, trust me, that's better for him. He's much better with these backstage promos than he is trying to cut one live. And outside of the Brody King and Darby matches themselves, we've barely seen Buddy Matthews. We've barely seen Malakai Black for whatever reasons. I saw someone in our comment section bring up that Malakai Black has had health issues, which is why he hasn't been on TV. Maybe that's why this hasn't been announced until last night, but still, I mean, I would have liked to see more back and forth, especially with Malakai Black and Miro to lead to this match. But nonetheless, here we are. I think House of Black need the win, but who gets pinned?
Probably Darby, unfortunately. You would think Sting should be the guy, right? To take the pin?
They're not going to have Sting get pinned.
What are they going to... Come on. Guy's like 60-something. He's in there with some young up-and-comers.
But it's still Sting.
Exactly.
Do you see Miro and Sting and Darby beating House of Black here? Or does House of Black... I feel like House of Black are in that same boat as Judgment Day, where like, they kind of need the win, but they haven't really done anything to make you think they're going to win.
They need to do something other than the spooky backstage vignette where it's like dark and whatever else, you know? But
yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll go with the House of Black here.
Next match is Ricky Starks versus Powerhouse Hobbs. So after Ricky Starks lost the FTW championship because the babyface promo, Hobbs attacks him. A couple weeks later, we see Ricky Starks cut another promo saying how Hobbs attacked him, went after his neck, almost shed tears in the process. And Powerhouse Hobbs just did it because Ricky Starks lost and he doesn't want to be associated with losers, basically. So that's the storyline we have with that. I mean, I want Starks to win, but I also want Hobbs to win, because they both could use a win on a pay-per-view. But I don't know who wins this match. If I follow what Tony Khan has done in the past, I say Ricky Starks, because Tony Khan, there's a few knocks on his booking. He's having trouble booking the women's division, but he has a tough time booking big men. Ever since AEW started, he has not booked big men well. And I think at this point, Ricky Starks will win this match. Granted, it might be warranted, but this is another case where a big guy loses another big match under Tony Khan's booking.
See, I definitely agree. I don't think big men have been booked very strong under Tony Khan or in AEW to begin with, but I think that's got to change at some point. You know, you got it. Some of these guys that they have there, especially Hobbs, like what are you going to do? You had him turn and you're going to have him lose to Starks. I think I'm going to go with Hobbs in this match.
All right. I mean, I could see Hobbs winning, but at the same time, I just go back to prior history. You know, Archer lost to Cody Rhodes, and I mean, freaking Hobbs lost to Orange Cassidy at one point. So, you know, it's hard. It's hard to say that Hobbs could get a win here, but Hobbs could use the win nonetheless. And does Ricky Starks necessarily lose anything from losing to Hobbs? No, but we'll see how it goes. Next match here, Jungle Boy versus Christian Cage. Kind of what we saw with Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins on WWE. Kind of seeing the same thing here in AEW. They kind of did it first, a few weeks prior, but Christian Cage dug deep into Jungle Boy, bringing up his father, bringing up his family. Jungle Boy retaliates, bringing up Christian Cage's divorce, and he just went back and forth. And this past Wednesday on Dynamite, Jungle Boy said that Christian's not facing Jungle Boy, he's facing Jack Perry. I thought this was actually a pretty good backstage interview, and I think they need to go back to this. We've seen this in the past where it really worked, where JR did the sit-down interview with either one wrestler or both wrestlers. It worked well to progress storylines if you're not going to have them in a match or on screen. This worked well, and I thought it was very efficient. I think Jungle Boy needs to win this match. Christian Cage, for what it's worth, he doesn't need it. And I'm going with Jack Perry here.
See, the one thing that I'm unsure of is Luchasaurus. I know they said, oh, well, he's aligned back with Jungle Boy, but
is that a
I
ruse?
wouldn't be so sure, because that about face happened awfully quick. I think he gets involved.
That's true.
And I think Christian's going to win this, and then they'll move on from there. Ultimately, Jungle Boy will get his revenge, but I don't think it's this weekend.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, it's still going to be a good match nonetheless. I think this kind of needs to be that match that catapults Jack Perry, Jungle Boy, to the next level. We've finally see a different side of him throughout this summer. We've seen him actually cut more promos. He's a little bit more comfortable. So, I mean, I think this is the time to kind of give him that big pay-per-view win. Granted, he's done so in tag team matches and in trios matches, never as a singles wrestler. And if he's going to be one of those quote-unquote 4 pillars, now's the time to do that. But next match is Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho, the American Dragon versus the Lionheart. Got to admit, I'm kind of surprised they went with this match. I felt like they were going to do Jericho versus Daniel Garcia, and Garcia leaves the Jericho Appreciation Society. But nonetheless, Daniel Garcia is getting involved in this match. Does he leave the Jericho Appreciation Society and help Danielson win? Or is this like similar to what you said with Luchasaurus? Is Daniel Garcia only kind of making it seem like he's turning, but joins Jericho back in the Appreciation Society and helps Jericho win here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Daniel Garcia is absolutely getting involved in this match. The interesting thing is, I mean, maybe they touched on it a little bit. I thought they were going to try to play into the fact that, you know, Bryan Danielson was still having these head injuries and it was bothering him, and they've kind of alluded to it, but they certainly haven't made it a focal point of any storyline. And I thought they were gonna. I can't see Bryan Danielson losing. He just lost to Daniel Garcia. What was that, a couple weeks ago? Granted, there was outside interference and stuff like that, but I mean, this is look. Jericho's however old he is. Granted, he's Chris Jericho, but Bryan Danielson is supposed to be one of your guys. Like last night on Dynamite, you saw what Punk did. That's what Bryan Danielson's there to do. So he's got to get a win here.
I go to that old logic, that old booking logic. The guy who goes over on the go home, you know, does the job on the pay-per-view. And Danielson was the guy that was walking out and going over, and everyone's thinking, what's Daniel Garcia going to do with Chris Jericho? You know, is the Jericho Appreciation Society dissolving? Or what, you know, all the questions about that makes you think Jericho's going to win this match. And people that think that's just a WWE trope, it is not. Go do your history. See how many go-home shows where the guy goes over in AEW. CM Punk and Hangman Page. Hangman Page went over on the last segment. Punk won the title. Anarchy in the Arena match. You know, all those guys. Blackpool Combat Club went over on the go-home. Jericho Appreciation Society won. So it does happen in every promotion. It's not just a WWE trope. But nonetheless, I think this is the case where Danielson went over on the go home. Jericho wins. And thanks to Daniel Garcia, because he's truly going to hone in and embrace the fact that he is a sports entertainer. He's not a wrestler, despite what the crowd thinks, wants to chant. He's a sports entertainer. Because they all are. All wrestlers are sports entertainers, whether they like it or not.
I don't know. I get so conflicted with Jericho. I don't know.
Jericho doesn't like losing on pay-per-views either. I think I have to go back.
Orange Cassidy
and Moxley, I think, are his only 2 pay-per-view losses.
He beat Eddie?
Yeah. Yeah, he beat Eddie Kingston. But yeah, let's move on. The Casino ladder match. Winner gets an AEW World Championship match. We have Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Penta, Rey Fenix, Rush, Andrade, Dante Martin, and the Joker. Who's the Joker?
I'm going to guess MJF. I don't know who else you could potentially put in there. Hangman? I think we're getting Hangman.
I think Hangman's going to be involved later in the night.
Gotta be MJF.
What free agents are out there? What person in New Japan is coming to the States?
Bray Wyatt, Jay White.
Where's Brian Cage? Did they find Brian Cage to show up in AEW again?
I don't know. Adam Cole?
Is it going to be Braun Strowman? Oh wait, no, he signed back with WWE. Won't be him.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess MJF is the Joker.
Does he win?
If he's in with those people, yeah, he better freaking win.
If MJF is not in it, and the Joker's like some, indie darling or New Japan person or, someone that was a return that's not MJF or Hangman, I think Wheeler Yuta gets the win.
He gets a title shot?
Yep.
Well, I can't say it's outside the realm of possibility.
I think it's going to be Wheeler because let's see here. So I don't think it's Claudio because he's already the Ring of Honor champion. Penta and Rey, Rush and Andrade are feuding with each other. And usually when they have feuds within a match like this, they all cancel out. So that leaves either Yuta, Dante, or the Joker. And if it's not MJF, I don't see the Joker winning at all. So it's either Dante or Yuta. And Yuta has ties to Moxley.
Kota Ibushi?
No, I don't think Kota Ibushi.
Tony Khan loves him some big surprise debuts. So, right? Why those are the only, I don't know.
What indie darlings are people talking about now?
Effie.
Yeah, maybe it's Effie.
Maybe it's
Is he going to be in Chicago?
I'm not even joking here. Moxley wins Vance Warner.
What if it's Orange Cassidy?
No. Maybe.
Yeah, how can you have a pay-per-view without Orange Cassidy?
Sounds like a good pay-per-view that I'd buy.
Speaking of Orange Cassidy, that's possibly our next match here. The Trios Tag Title Championship Finals. The Elite clinched their spot on Dynamite by beating the United Empire's Will Ospreay and Aussie Open. Now we're recording this before Rampage, and the finals of the Rampage side is the Best Friends, Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, and Trent Beretta going against the Dark Orders, Preston Vance, Alex Reynolds, and John Silver. Now they could always do something where someone in the Dark Order can't make the match and Hangman Page finds his way in, and that leads to Dark Order versus the Elite in the finals. Or you got to get Orange Cassidy on this card somehow. So, Ralph, how do we have a pay-per-view without Orange Cassidy on the pay-per-view?
Well, he might have to sit this one out because I do think, especially after last night, I do think we're going to get Hangman Page and we're going to start building back up that story with Hangman and the Elite and that whole thing. Because if Hangman is in that match, there's no doubt he's going to the finals.
I agree. I think, honestly, though, regardless of who's in the finals, this is probably the most predictable match. The Elite are winning. Regardless of regardless if it's the Best Friends or the Dark Order, the Elite are winning this match.
They created a trios title for themselves.
Yep. These titles were made for them. They were made for them. And the Bucks don't have to drop them to FTR and don't have to worry about seeing them ever again. And Kenny Omega could have the title with his friends. And they could, have all these great trios matches together and build the legacy that they want with that title. The Elite are winning. That's, I think, the most predictable match on this card.
I think so.
Honestly. Actually, you know what? I might take that back because maybe the other most predictable match is for the AEW Tag Team Championship, Swerve in Our Glory versus the Acclaimed. Which I didn't even know the Acclaimed were ranked, but nonetheless, here they are. I think they're, I haven't checked the rankings. I know FTR is number 1, but the Acclaimed get this title shot. I know they did a backstage interview with them where they issued this challenge, and that's how we got here. The Acclaimed recently won a dumpster match against the Gun Club. Do we really see Swerve in Our Glory dropping the titles this soon? I know people love the Acclaimed, but do they love them that much that they win the tag team championships here?
Look, some people are so certain that they're going to win. I wouldn't be that certain. Claimed are pretty over.
They are.
I'm going to go with the Acclaimed.
Actually,
I'm going to go with the upset here.
Really? Okay. All right. The Acclaim going with the upset special. I mean, I know people love Max Caster, but I just hope, because, I mean, the Jurassic Express had a decent run. You go back, the Lucha Brothers, their run was okay, but there hasn't really been a good tag team championship title reign in a while in AEW.
You're right. And that would include Swerve, Swerve and Keith Lee.
But they just got the titles, what, a month and a half ago? Granted, they shouldn't have had them to begin with because they pinned the wrong man, but still. I mean, I think they still have stuff to prove here as AEW tag team champions. And I don't see the Acclaim facing FTR anytime soon. I think the better match is Swerve in Our Glory against FTR. I feel like FTR needs to be the next tag team champions. They have to be. So Swerve in Our Glory, let them have a few more title defenses before FTR finally get their title shot and finally win those titles. But we'll see how it goes. Next match for the TBS Championship, the undefeated Jade Cargill against Athena. Does Athena put that one in Jade Cargill's record and becomes the second ever TBS champion? Now, I think the story was originally going to be told where Chris Statlander was going to take this spot, but like many people in AEW recently, she got injured. She's out. Athena fills that spot.
Talk about a match that just, you really knew it was going to happen. You knew this match was going to happen, but my God, it lost all steam getting to this point. I mean, can Athena beat her? Yeah. Do I think that they've done a good job building her up to be a legitimate threat? No. What are they going based on? They're going based on the fact that she's a big name from WWE. She hasn't done anything in AEW.
She's had a few wins.
Okay, we just talked about Drew McIntyre being the guy to beat this immaculate whatever because of the way he's positioned. And I keep telling people this. Wrestling is about perception. Do you think that AEW is going to done a good job building her up to be like the threat to Jade? I don't think so. No. But that being said, will she beat her? Can she beat her? Yeah, they can.
Well, part of the problem is the women's division doesn't get enough focus to even even say Jade Cargill's a threat to even stay undefeated.
I'm going with Jade just because. What's that line from Major League? Who cares?
The score is, I don't know. Who cares? Yeah. Anyway, I agree. I think Jade retains here. I don't know if Athena gets the same treatment as Ruby Riott or Ruby Soho, where she got the title match as soon as she got there and then just kind of fonders. But yeah, nonetheless, that's where we are. I think with Athena possibly. But speaking of someone that came from WWE and actually probably gotten the best push out of any woman that's come from WWE into AEW, Toni Storm is in a fatal four-way for the interim AEW Women's Championship against Britt Baker, Jaime Hayter, and Hikaru Shida. Now, the report is Toni Storm was supposed to beat Thunder Rosa for the title anyway. Thunder Rosa gets hurt. She went on Busted Open recently saying that like her back is in bad shape and she can't walk at times. So she's going to be out for a while. But when she comes back, she's obviously going to be, having that unification match. So do they just keep course with the rumors and the reports that Toni was going to win this match anyway? Or do they swerve us and go with either Britt, Jaime, or Hikaru Shida?
Well, Shida pinned Britt Baker last night, no?
She did, which means Hikaru Shida's taking the pin.
I'm going with Jaime Hayter here.
Really?
Yes. Because
okay.
Toni Storm, unlike Athena and unlike Ruby Soho, I don't want to call her Ruby Riott, they came over, both of those two that I just mentioned, came over from WWE, had the big entrance, had the big surprise, whatever, and haven't done a whole lot since. Toni Storm, at the very least, we could say, has been at least positioned in a spot where it seems like they wanted to do something with her. So I don't think she necessarily needs to win the title to get, accepted by the AEW fans. I think they need to try and start creating new stars or somebody else that can get to that level. They really only have, in my opinion, Toni Storm, I guess, Britt Baker, Jade, and then talented people who just aren't put in those positions yet. And Thunder Rosa's already out. So I think Jaime Hayter would be a good person that they can probably build up. And I think a win here would help her.
I've seen some people push on social media for Hikaru Shida to win, similar to Drew McIntyre when we talked about our Clash predictions. She had a huge reign in front of nobody, and as soon as fans came back, she dropped the title to Britt and never got a second chance.
It's hardly been on the show.
And she really hasn't been, she's barely on TV. I know she did some stuff in Japan that kind of hurt her push, but she's been relegated to dark, and that's unfortunate because she was one of the top women wrestlers and top focal points in AEW when it first started, going through the pandemic. But then, for whatever reason, Toni has just not booked her strong. And I don't know if it's just because the WWE talent that's come in or, ratings show that people just did not care for Hikaru Shida like we thought she did. I don't know what it was, but now they say, oh, give Shida the title and give us Shida versus Thunder Rosa again. They had a hell of a good match during the pandemic. But I think it's I think it's a coin toss between Toni Storm and Hikaru Shida, honestly. Britt Baker and Jaime Hayter, they cancel each other out. I think this is where they start their feud of them finally breaking up and having their separate feud. And does Toni Storm pins Hikaru Shida. And that's your interim AEW Women's Champion, Toni Storm. But main event time, Jon Moxley, CM Punk for the AEW World Championship. Before we get to the match itself, what did you think of the segment on Dynamite this week? Moxley comes out, completely buries CM Punk, says he doesn't got it anymore. He's not what we thought. He's not living up to the promise, that he said after coming back 7 years ago. He's just not the guy. Moxley's the guy. Throws down a contract. Ace Steel comes in, picks up the contract, runs backstage. Punk comes out, does his best Cody Rhodes impression with tears in his eyes, cutting a promo. Ace Steel comes out. He's like, why are you doubting yourself? You're CM Punk, damn it. We're in Chicago. You're signing that contract, damn it. It turns into a giant pep rally in Chicago. Punk signs the contract. And we're back to where we were 2 weeks ago. Jon Moxley versus CM Punk for the World Championship. I honestly liked it. I really liked it. I thought it was really good. Like, I understand some people might be like, well, we got to the same point anyway. Why did we get here? Think about it this way. The whole story was told within CM Punk's promo segment. He's hurt, was cleared, but he's not really the 100% CM Punk that he was due to this foot injury. And you know what? He just lost confidence. Does he have it anymore? Does he have what it takes to be CM Punk for the fans? And Ace Steel has to come in and give him that pep talk. Is this something that maybe should have been done with more weeks to build it? Maybe. But given that Punk was hurt, they don't have the time to do this story outside of these 2 weeks. I think they did a good job with this, honestly. And with it being in Chicago, you kind of have that moment of how are they going to book this? Does CM Punk beat Moxley, who has been basically undefeated in AEW, and he's got 5 losses ever in AEW? And 2 of them were with Omega due to nefarious means. 1 he walked out of the match on, and I think the other 2 like were still nefarious. Like he hasn't lost clean ever in AEW. So does Moxley continue that, or does Punk really become the first person to pin Moxley clean and beat him for that title?
First of all, I thought that last night we saw CM Punk do the best, the thing that he does best, and that is obviously, give just a great promo to get people invested, to sell the pay-per-view, because even though I still don't necessarily like the fact that that match took place, and I don't think it did anything to sell me on the pay-per-view, I think Punk did at least a good enough job convincing everybody why it at least makes sense. The whole thing about the new 100%, he's 100%, but it's a new 100%. He can't necessarily plant on his foot. It's different, blah, 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 that whole thing. The scene of him in the crowd, that one guy holding the baby up, all the craziness.
Who brings a baby to a wrestling show?
I rewound it and took a picture of it because I was like, what in the world is going on here? But, look, Punk's the guy.
I wonder if that person had to buy a ticket for the baby.
Yeah. I wonder too, but Punk is the guy there. He really is. I mean, Moxley's good, and I know some people don't even like Moxley, but no one else in AEW other than Max does that. Can just walk in there, grab the mic, and go from, hey, I'm retiring, I'm done, this is over, to literally the place going absolutely nuts. Punk's the guy. Punk's gonna win. In my opinion, he beats Moxley clean, and Punk, we'll see what he can do with the title, but that's when we start to get some of those hopefully interesting matches. Maybe we get him and MJF again, him and Adam Cole, him and Bryan Danielson, Cesaro, whoever.
So here's the question. If it's revealed that MJF is the Joker, wins that match, does that give away the finish of this match that CM Punk wins?
No, because him and Moxley have bad blood too.
That's true.
So I don't think anybody likes Max if you're a face. And who even knows? He may not actually be the Joker, but I'd be all for Punk and MJF again.
I would too. And I would not put that on Dynamite.
No.
That match has got to be the Full Gear main event. And I've seen some rumors that Full Gear is going to be in New Jersey. So it's kind of close to Long Island. I actually would think try to get Nassau Coliseum or go back.
Worst event I've ever been to was at Nassau Coliseum.
What event was that?
It was a random Monday Night Raw I went to. I drove the however many hours to get to it. I think it was like 3 hours. It was bad. But I think they've
just
renovated
because the venue was bad?
Everything was bad.
Yeah, they just renovated.
The venue inside was bad. That was, I think, before they redid it. The security was terrible. There was like one door inside the place. I stood in a line that I've never stood in before. It took me over an hour to get inside. That just never happens anywhere. I've been to Disney World and not waited in lines like that.
Or the UBS Arena. That's the one I was really thinking in Long Island. If they do the pay-per-view there and you have MJF versus CM Punk as the main event for the title, especially if they try to make Punk heel, which even when he cuts a heelish kind of promo in the beginning where he like insults a fan,
yeah.
body shaming, people cheered it.
He apologized after.
He did. To make the prediction, Punk's winning. He's got to be.
So we agree on Punk.
We agree on Punk.